Hey, beautiful creatures, I'm Amithia, your curator of deliciously dark romances, and I am here with the final wrap up for 2025. My spooky season began with reading the My Dear Watson series by Elle. Now, when I picked this series up, I was so intrigued because it was marketed as a soft dom, kind of cherishing dynamic about two people finding themselves and finding unexpected sweetness along the way, right? And we are met with Autumn, a barista with hardcore PTSD, who is more than comfortable with keeping a counter between her and the rest of reality, right? And she's built this cozy little life for herself. And we learn pretty quickly she is on the run and hiding from people because she was a mole for law enforcement and it didn't end well for her, right? So that's kind of the setup for Autumn, who might be a relatable character for lots of people out there, especially when this mental health rep clearly shows how her experiences and PTSD have impacted every single area of her life, hence her being more than happy to tiptoe her way into social interactions by being a barista and keep a healthy distance between her and the rest of reality. Now, enter Leo, who's a complete surprise to Autumn and is somebody who sweeps her off her feet so quickly by cherishing her and adoring her and showing her respect instantly. They meet as he is a hotel owner in the city who frequents her coffee shop, and she has a klutzy moment where she saves him from a scalding hot Americanist village, and we go from there. Now, this series takes so many twists and turns plot wise. Now, I pretty much went into this blind, so for me, that was a huge surprise. And in that sense, the plot gives and gives and gives in terms of information and how deeply these two are actually entwined in each other's lives without even realizing it, right? And then we have the very sweet dynamic between Autumn and Leo. These guys are the epitome of you will never be too much for me, and I will always have space for you. If that's a trope, these guys take the cornerstone of it. So we have accurate representation of mental health with Autumn and the different triggers that come up and the different ways she reacts to it, and how sometimes she's okay and sometimes she's not, and the way that impacts a relationship and a budding connection, right? And then we also later on in the series have mental health representation with Leo, with all of his responsibilities and the way that shows up for him with mental health. So these two are so deeply impacted by their experiences and complement each other so much, in the sense that Autumn becomes a source of hope for Leo because she is able to maintain this glimmer of childlike glee and wonder despite all she's been through. And Leo becomes a source of comfort and reassurance for Autumn, a sign that actually all is not lost and you can be respected by your fellow humans. So the dynamic is just so, so sweet. And I really do hope to come back to this series because, like I said, the plot gives out information just drip by drip by drip. The plot keeps going and going and going, and they keep getting into stickier situations, and that's so interesting, especially with the amount of layers to Autumn. Like, I was not prepared, right? But unfortunately for me, I binged this series so quickly. I binged the one, two, three, the first three books in this series just too quickly. So the writing style became a bit too repetitive. The trauma recovery scenes became a bit too samey. I feel like if I would have spaced out my reading of these books, I would have finished the series all in one go and super enjoyed my time. So I really hope I come back to this series because I'm so invested in Autumn and Leo and the just sweetness between them, the utter sweetness between them. So I really hope I return to it at some point. But that was my ferry into trying out Elm Jed as a new to me author in October. All right, next we have the paranormal dark romance Come Out, Come Out by Alexia Onyx. Now, you may have already heard of this. It's been pretty popular on Instagram and TikTok, or it was back in October. We follow our hero, who is a ghost, who is confined to a house where he murdered the people who motivated his sister to complete suicide after they cyberbully her. So you see that on page, and our hero ends up being a spirit that's confined to the house after he dies whilst seeking vengeance. Now, our heroine is somebody who later moves into that house, gets in dirt cheap with her roommates. The haunting of the house begins, which ends up scaring away the roommates, and she's left to fend for herself against this ghost. In the meantime, in our heroine's perspective, some random man keeps attending the house and giving her the best spicy time of her life. But we as readers know that's the paranormal element of the ghost. surfacing and never knowing if he's going to be able to reconnect with this person who he is falling deeply in love with, but has such limited communication strategies with because he is a ghost. So she's completely oblivious for most of the book, and he watches her spiral into self-destruction because our main girl struggles with depression and addiction, right? So there's the setup for this book. For me, the writing style did not hit. It was a little bit too simplistic, so I DNF'd it. And also plotware. This was mostly spice, and I went into this book mostly blind. I was really, really invested in finally exploring paranormal romance again because it's one of my favorite genres, and I figured mixing paranormal romance with dark romance, my other favorite genre, would be a great way to get back into this genre I love so much. However, plotware in this book, it is so predominantly spice, and I personally was not expecting that. And also, as a demisexual girl, this did not hit for me because our hero and our heroine barely know each other when they are having regular hookups. And he is basically a stranger to our heroine because he just pops in and out of the house, potentially with months in between, and they barely have any conversation. So, with such little like chemistry from an emotional connection standpoint, I was just not invested at all. So, I DNF'd this book pretty fast. And then later, I came to reviews sharing the endings, which for me, I don't want to support that kind of ending, so I probably won't be picking this up again. But if you're wanting something quick and fun and spicy and you go in with those expectations, and please check your triggers, then go for it because this book is heavy on the self-sabotage. So enjoy if you wish. Moving into November, this reading month changed my brain chemistry. We have the introduction of some of my new ride or die books, some new to me authors, which I hope will become ride or die. I'm deeply curious to explore more of what they'll release. So let me get into it. Firstly, I dipped into fantasy. Now, I don't usually do this. I wouldn't consider myself a fantasy girly because, as I've previously mentioned, most fantasies end in war, and we don't do that well as humans. So why am I going to subject myself to that in an escape, in a happy, well, in a interesting, spicy escape, right? So anyway, I picked up Destruction's Desire by Joanne because I adore the sarcastic, very relatable inner monologue of our main heroine. Okay, Destruction's Desire follows our main girl, Vivian, who has the most sarcastic, most relatable inner monologue that I adore. Now, this is the second book in what is so far a duet. There's going to be more. I don't know how many. But we follow Vivian, who sees dead people and has not had the kindest of experiences with her classmates, and is also possibly being hunted by other deity beings that believe she is an integral part of the world ending. And so she is thrust into this magical world she knows barely anything about and is trying to survive whilst being surrounded by people she is being told are her fated mates, who are these kind of like immortal weapons that she may or may not be in control of coloring and controlling. And throughout these books, we have like various manipulations going on. We don't really know who to trust. And we're kind of following Vivian clinging to her goddess damn sanity whilst trying to navigate these worlds she has no awareness of. She's never been trained for in her life, right? Now, Destruction's Desire is the second book in what is so far a duet, and it's so much fun. Joanne writes in such a self-aware way, which I think makes Vivian such a relatable and likable character, because she's there with us evaluating her choices as you would a reader of fantasy, right? She's like fully being self-aware about being strangely surrounded by many really hot men. And there's that sense of like humor that adds a levity to any situation she's in, whilst also dipping so genuinely into what it takes to straddle different worlds, to like be in this human physical realm whilst having these experiences of seeing dead people and communicating with them and helping them move on and all those things, and what it takes to have that kind of dual identity where she's just trying to be a normal girl while she's being thrust into this world. And so she's just intensely relatable if you've ever dealt with any of that kind of stuff. So the first book very much follows her journey with coming to grips with her seeing dead people and the impact that's had in her life, and how that's kind of showing up in how she deals with different situations and deals with like the mental health of that. And also she's thrust together with this weapon person called Leon and thrust into all the information I just told you earlier. And it kind of follows her navigating these worlds and being transported to alternate worlds and dealing with every strange situation as it occurs, and all the time she's baffled and confused and sarcastic, and I love her. We love Vivian so much. So I was so happy to receive an arc and also just be back in this world, to be back with Vivian and see how she was going to handle, because the first book does end on a cliffhanger, right? But it's okay, we have the second one. You can join us for the ride now, okay? And in the second one, Destruction and Desire, we meet a brand new cast of characters that give proper found family vibes. And again, situations heighten. Vivian becomes a badass, like even more so than the first one, and learns so much vital information that really changes her brain chemistry, literally. So it's such a good time. And again, Melody Joanne's writing is so self-aware that for me, it's such a fun ride, because I'm not taking anything too seriously. I'm like down for like the emotional highs and lows, knowing that like the writer is so aware of the type of book she's writing and that we're here for a good time, right? So I kind of just trust her. I don't know if that's founded yet. I've only read 2 books by her, but I kind of just trust her to like keep my heart safe through this journey. And I love Vivian so much. She's like so sarcastic and so relatable, and she has kind of dark humor as well. So it's just such a good time, such a good time. And honestly, I find as a mystic girly that in the first book and in the second book, but especially in the first book, the representation of the impact of seeing ghosts and spirits and having a foot in another world is pretty accurately represented, even in that kind of light-hearted way, or that way that like becomes, she really shows like the space between her and the rest of like her classmates, or her, the way this impacts how she plans her life and makes life choices and da 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 da. And so even though this is the tone of these books are very like lighthearted and self-aware, there is kind of that element of realism for me as a mystic girly anyway. I really relate to Vivian. So again, this was such a good time. Like both books were such a good time, and both so bingeable because the writing style is so easy to read. So I'm just hoping that Melody Joanne will release a book in the next kind of like 2 years. That's kind of the time frame we had between the first and second book, and that when she does that, it will cushion my heart as we go. I have a feeling, as with most fantasies, we're heading towards war. However, I love Vivian so much that I actually don't care. And also, in these books, kind of like in For Whom the Bell Tolls, if you saw my review on that in a previous video, I'll put it somewhere, there is a value in these books in authenticity and empathy and the consequences, like reckoning with the actual real consequences, well, fictional, but real to the characters' consequences of like the impact their decisions have on other people, which again, I don't think is always tackled in fantasy books. I think sometimes it's glossed over, or sometimes people just are so militant that they're too removed from their choices to even contemplate the impacts, really. Whereas again, these books are written really self-awarely, not a word, forgive me. But so I really appreciate that even though it is following that kind of fantasy trajectory, the impact of the choices are dealt with and thought through. And like Vivian kind of remains, maybe it's because she was just a regular-ish person before all this started, but she kind of, no matter how she changes, she keeps in touch with the impact of a whole of her decisions and moves from this place of like empathy and the fact that everything she's doing is impacting actual lives, right? And so I really appreciate like the accountability of that. And she also holds the cast of characters around her really accountable, especially leaders. She's not one to like trust without thinking when she has a choice. So again, really beautiful to see that navigated. This series, though, it does touch on abusive relationships, so just like check your triggers going in. But again, handled sensitively, handled accurately, and like again, empowerment is a theme throughout this. So I'm actually coming to grips with why I'm enjoying this series so much, as I explained. But if you want something that's easy to read, that's very self-aware, and that's just a good freaking time, pick these books up. I'm hoping the next book will be out in 2 years, which in book years is not that long to wait. So just join me, you know? Oh my goddess. Oh my goddess. I'm not even ready to talk about these books again, because they still have my imagination in a chokehold. I'm still questioning my sanity and my morals after reading them. And this is the month I read them. So in November, I read The Pretty Poison Duet. That's not what it's called. It's called The Gods of Tomorrow Duet by Elle Mitchell. Pretty Poison is the first one. I think The Road to Ruin is the second. And this is a dark rock star romance, cult romance, where like everybody's a serial killer. And it's wild, right? But let me tell you a little bit about what it's about before I like rave maniacally. Okay, so we follow Tegan, who is a true crime podcaster, and she is putting her whole career on the line to go and her plan is to become a groupie for the Gods of Tomorrow band and figure out if they're killing people, because she suspects that the charismatic leader, who is low-key starting a blood cult, is killing women. And she wants to find evidence, and I don't even think she's that sure what she wants to do once she's found the evidence. But that is her plan. So she puts all of her energy into becoming a groupie, puts herself in some pretty tricky situations to do it, and she plans on taking them down in some form or another. And from there ensues mind games, madness, manipulation, murder, and mayhem with a capital M. Okay, so oh my goodness, this is a duet. It's a completed duet, so enjoy. And I would say it's on the verge of being a horror erotica suspense, because throughout these books we have no idea of anybody's motivations. We have no idea what anybody is capable of until the second they show us who they are. Even as beautiful, poetic scenes are happening, we don't know if that's all a masterful manipulation, if it's genuinely meant and we're aiming to like reframe reality to make some people less moral or more likely to give in to themselves, or if it's all just a big game that everybody's playing because they're tragically bored. We don't know, right? And this series gets so chaotic that it delves into like the police and mental health institutions and other countries, and we have like concerts, and we have crime, and we have secret societies, and we have so many serial killers in one place. And then as information is revealed about our main girl Tegan and each of the family members, so the core cast are called family, right? Again, every time a bit of information is revealed, we're reminded we know fuck all. We know no one's motivations, we know what no one is capable of, and we have no idea where this train wreck is going to end. Okay, and it's been a couple months now since I read this duet. And firstly, let me tell you that while I was reading it, yeah, you better believe it was all I was doing. I was reading before work, during work, after work, late into the night, early in the morning, in between meals, in between conversations. I did not put it down. I read the entire duet in a week. In a week. I think both books are around like 500 pages. I read the duet in a week. It was that good. And this is like the closest I've come to horror erotica, because bear in mind, these are quite gory. But because it was so based in like mind games and outmaneuvering people and stuff, that would kind of create enough distance for me to that I didn't care how gory it was, which is wild for me because I'm usually so against gore. Like, the world is gory enough. You know what I mean? I don't need more of that mental imagery. Thank you very much. But for some reason, it was okay here. I suspect because of the amount of mind games that created distance or whatever. But it was such a good time. Such a good time. And if this is the standard for how Elle Mitchell writes, holy crap. She is going to become a ride or die author for me, and I'm so ready for it. So if you have read Runaways particularly, or any other of her books, let me know what you think. Give me your recommendations, because I cannot wait to eat up everything Elle Mitchell writes if this is the standard. If this is the bar, how are we surpassing it? I can't wait to find out. So if you haven't read The Gods of Tomorrow duet yet, consider this your permission slip. And also just join me. Just come over and join me so we can gush about this together, because I'm not over it. I'm not over the ending. I'm not over the characters and everything we learned about them. I haven't even assimilated the story into my psyche yet, because I have so many questions, and I'm so excited to reread this duet now, knowing how it ends and spending some time with the characters to feel that I somewhat understand them. I don't even know if, honestly though, I don't even know if I trust all of the information and betrayals in these books, because there are just that many mind games. So when I reread it, I don't know if I genuinely need to like actually trust the betrayals of the characters, or if I just desperately want to reread the different scenes with a basic understanding of how it ends and like the motivations of the characters. Because there's a big, I mean, there are many big reveals in this duet, but there's a reveal of somebody who's a killer. And let me just say, when that reveal happened, I forgot the first appearance of that character even freaking happened, because I was so caught up in the chaos, because this duet is like event after event after event after event. The pacing is immaculate. And you may already know that I read the Insatiable series back in February. One of my favorite series of all time. Like, I feel like I don't even need to make a god tier video to make that known at this point. But like, when I read the Insatiable series, I learned I adore action-packed books, but action-packed books where it furthers the plot and it furthers the character growth and it's true to the characters. And Elle Mitchell's The Gods of Tomorrow duet does that so freaking well. So freaking well. I would say pacing-wise, it's on par with Insatiable, which is insane. That is such a high bar to clear. So beyond impressed. Okay, so if you needed a sign to pick this duet up, do it. Join me. Join me so I can talk about the series forever. Thank you so much. On to a much softer ending to November. November. This next book, after everything I went through with the Gods of Tomorrow duet, felt like a warm, wintry hug because we dipped into dark academia with a beautiful university campus set in Ireland in the winter. It's gorgeous. I am, of course, talking about The Exorcism of Fairies by J.L. Vamper. We follow Atta and Sonda. Now, Atta is such an intellectual badass who is not afraid to get her hands dirty, and I adore her grit, her determination, her confidence in her ability and what she has to say and why the hell she's putting her attention. Just such a role model. I love her so much. Okay, so Atta and Sonda. This book is set in Ireland where a strange plague is taking place, and we can tell from the title fairies are involved, but it takes a little while for everybody else to figure that out. So we are following Atta, who is a mortician's daughter who's come to a specific university to study a botany and cultural folklore course. Okay, so you can see how all those little skills can tie together later. Atta's a force, as I already mentioned, and she is thrust into a connection with Sonda, who is her professor. So if you are a professor student girly, this is the book for you. If you enjoy dark academia, wintry, good bug vibes, this is the book for you. Pick it up. It's beautiful. To me, it felt like a warm hug. And this is a slow burn romance, which I wouldn't consider myself a slow burn girly. I'm like deeply demisexual, and that does translate to my books, but I wouldn't say I'm a slow burn girly. However, this pacing, because we were so wrapped up in how the folklore tied to everything, in the impacts of the plague, in the secret societies, and the motivations of everybody working to put all the different pieces together and potentially solve the issue, and like everybody's motivations and stuff. There was enough going on. I didn't mind it was a slow burn. It actually made Atta and Sonda's relationship feel more genuine when they did give in, and it made the fact that they were professor and student-ish, TA, but you know, potato, not a thing. Anyway, but it made them actually giving in feel like it had an impact on their lives, that it mattered that it was professor and student. And that connection just felt so genuine, and I loved them so much. And they just both adore each other and cherish each other and make so much space for each other. And so again, there's those themes of like authenticity and empowerment and recognizing each other's genius, and that's beautiful. I love when two minds are evenly matched and they value each other so overtly that they just want to keep each other close and treasured and honored and the same, right? So these two were everything I wanted in a dark academia, slow burn, fairy plague romance. And the tree scene will live rent-free in my head for the rest of days. It's one of the most gorgeous scenes I've ever read. The greenhouse tree scene, yeah. I sincerely hope I make the time at some point this year to find fan art of it, to paint myself a version of it, because it's just beyond beautiful. The like dichotomy of life and death in a fucking tree, beautiful. And it's low-key gave me Hannibal vibes, the TV show, because some of those themes come up there, and it just made sense to me. So again, if you enjoy dark academia, that is the show for you. It's gory as heck, but that is the show for you. So I'm just honored to have read this book, to be quite honest, because this book was sweet, it was smart, it was respectful, and all of the teaching moments were so interesting because it was framed as genius, because we were along for the ride with everybody, but it was also framed as passionate genius, and I'm here for passionate genius. Okay, I love intellect, and so it was beautiful to see it depicted, and beautiful to see everybody treasured and in awe and impressed when they should be, and fuddling about and making a mess of things and just trusting their knowledge, because what other choice did they have? And also their conviction. I love people and characters who have conviction, stick to their conviction, act on their conviction. Beautiful. Loved it. I loved everything about this story. I'm still a little bit confused on the ending, because it's not entirely made clear, like abundantly clear, how things are resolved. And I wonder if that's just part of the Fae mystery that we accept, right? But I'm really looking forward, maybe this winter, maybe next winter, of rereading this. I hope it becomes some kind of staple in my reading journey because it was just such a beautiful journey to go down. So if you enjoy folklore and dark academia and student romance and like low-key mad geniuses, then like join me, come along for the ride because it's worth it, I assure you. Now, I am curious about J.L. Vamper's backlist. I'm not sure how long it is or what's in it. I know there's a witchy book somewhere, a grimoire, autumn grimoire or something. But if you have read anything else from J.L. Vamper, let me know if the writing style holds up, if her story development, like plot devices, hold up, and if you think it's worth me checking out another one of her books, or if this is just going to be a one-off. I'm not too sure, but I'm curious to find out. Who knows when I'll make space for it this year because I have an established physical TBR to get through. But maybe gifts will appear across the year. Watch this space. Oh my goddess, this is actually too sweet. This is too sweet because next I treated myself to a little novella by Lola King. Can you guess what it is? Can you guess? Yeah, it's more Christian and Ella. So the little novella I treated myself to was Merry Christmas from Daddy to Little One. And it is a prequel, I guess, to Loving the Liar, which follows Ella getting some news in her household, being understandably devastated, and having Christian over to just soften that blow and have a little bit of festive fun as they go. And it was just so sweet, so sweet. And again, both Christian and Ella are emotionally aware enough to know exactly what's going on, to see all the manipulation and all the possessiveness and all the mess that Ella is trying to escape from. But she just needs comfort, and who better to provide that for her than Daddy Christian? That's all I have to say. It was everything I wanted. I probably will reread it. It just felt like a little treat for me. And it was interesting to read this for me after Loving the Liar, because it gives you some context for the beginning of Loving the Liar, where like they have a conversation and he calls her drunk, and like he calls her while he's drunk. And this little novella gives you context of that I didn't know going in. So I actually got new information, which was unexpected and fun and made this even more of a little treat. So I am just happy to get more Christian and Ella. And I know that the Silver Falls University trilogy is now complete, so we might not be getting any more Christian and Ella content, but like if that ever changes, please pop it in the comments and let me know because they're like a favorite couple of mine. I still don't know if I forgive Christian for anything, but I am here for their dynamic forever till the end of time. Thank you. And if I ever do get around to making a kink video, better believe these guys are going to be highlighted because their dynamic, their relationship, messy as all hell, putting the dark in dark romance, but their dynamic is just unbearably sweet. But I will bear it because I love it so much. Yes, so that was my little treat to myself at the end of November because festive seasons, you know. Now, in December, guess what I reread? Guess. I believe in you. You'll have figured this out from previous videos. That's right. I reread Living the Liar. Now, as I haven't explained what that's about in this video yet, I'm gonna just go ahead and do that. I warned you, I wasn't gonna shut up about these two. So, Loving the Liar follows Ella and Christian. Ella is a good girl, ballerina turned law student because her parents are influential members of the elite, members of a secret society who have put her family in a bind, and she has become a bargaining chip to get them out of it. So she is just trying to do what she needs to do to survive in the midst of incredibly corrupt and dangerous people and a world that she kind of wasn't trained for. She's been mostly kept out of it. So her heart is broken and she is just trying to finally move on from her ex, Christian, you guessed it, and is finally ready to do that at the start of university. However, Christian has other ideas. He returns to university and we're not really sure why, but he is determined to do every single thing he can to win Ella back and take care of her. And I mentioned already, they have a gorgeous daddy baby girl dynamic, but they also have the most toxic, possessive, manipulative, mind-bending romance. And in true Lola King suspense kind of style, we've got corruption, we've got survival, we've got secret societies upping and upping and upping stakes, right? And again, we're not really sure of anyone's motivations throughout this whole book. So by the time Lola King drops the information and changes your whole perception of the whole chronology of the book, we're like, what the hell did we just read? And it's up to you whether or not the ends justify the means, because I still haven't decided, and I've reread this book like 3 times. Okay, and I still don't know. There's a grave scene later on in the book, and I'm like, is that redeeming? Is it, when so much manipulation happens? And then later, when time is spent apart, is that timeline enough to undo the codependency and manipulation and abusive dynamics that were going, to actually give someone the space to make like sentient, self-aware choices? I don't know. But then on the other hand, Ella is like such a soft badass in that she's been through so much that maybe she has learned enough about herself to make very bold, strong choices very quickly, because she knows what she wants after being gone through so much. I don't know. I'm still undecided. I guess I'll just have to, read it again and find out. But if any of that sounds appealing, just join me on this Lola King ride. I'm so late to this bandwagon, but I made it on the train. Just all the analogies that probably make little sense. But point being, if you too are new to Lola King or thinking about picking Lola King up, join me, because I have a feeling throughout this year, me and Lola King are going to be like this. I'm just going to be slowly going through her backlog when I feel emotionally ready, because I'm pretty sure I started with the Silver Falls trilogy, which is one of her like lightest series. So I don't know when my heart will be ready to explore her darker themes. So any suggested reading order, pop below. If there's a light to dark of the North Shore series, please pop it below, because I don't care about reading Lola King's books in chronological order, because I don't mind putting the pieces together on my own time. But I do care about like easing my way in to like the darker romances that have like more cruelty in. I can handle lots and lots of manipulation and different dynamics and death-defying situations, but like cruelty, like pure cruelty for the sake of cruelty, that I struggle with, and I've heard the North Shore has more of that in it. So if you can think of the softest way to read the North Shore series, please pop it below and help a girl out, because I love the way Lola King writes suspense. I love the way she drip feeds us information that changes the entire perception of the entire story and reminds us we had no clue what was going on actually. Love it. Keeps me guessing, keeps me hooked. Love the way she paces. So invested in reading Lola King's backlist, but I gotta protect my heart. So if you want to help, please pop recommendations below. Thank you so much. Okay. Next, I read Living the Tormentor. Yeah. You see what I mean about the out of order chaos of my life, really, but especially my reading journey. So this is the third book in the Silver Falls series. So I'm not going to share too much, because it does have like an interconnected plot going on, but I will share about our main couple, Nyx and Achilles. Nyx is from, I believe, the North Shore side of town, where she is from an impoverished background with a father who's an addict, and she has fuck all money. And yet somehow, magically, she's been gifted a scholarship to Silver Falls University on a musical basis. She is a violinist who's a prodigy. She's phenomenal, and it's like her reason for breathing on this earth, which as a fellow musician, I get, So that was beautiful representation. And she also is differently abled. So that's some beautiful representation as well, if you want to go in and figure out what Nyx's story is. She's also a little badass. She's a little obsessed badass, because she is obsessed with Achilles, the musical prodigy that he is. He's also a violinist from a very, what's the opposite of impoverished? From a very rich background. I was hoping there was something with a P in it that would sound nice. But anyway, Achilles is first uncaring towards Nyx, like she's a speck of dust, but quickly switches his gears and becomes obsessed, unhinged, is determined to infiltrate every single aspect of her life and show her that she is worth so much more than the shitty circumstance and the unsafe people she is surrounded by. While Nyx, poor little Nyx, is just trying to prove that she belongs in the musical arenas she is in. And it goes from there. Now, this is a dog romance. This is not a model for healthy relationships. But if you love your FMCs and your MMCs just as obsessed as each other, go for it, because I love that aspect of this specific romance. These guys were like matched. They were like conniving in different ways. They had very different motivations and morals, but their obsession with each other was so well matched, showed up in like slightly different ways, but it was so matched. And I love that, because I feel like in dark romance, we don't often see mutual obsession. We'll see like one-sided obsession, or we'll see stalking, or no, I can't get past stalking. Okay, so but like we'll often have one character who's more obsessed with someone than the other, or one character who's obsessed with someone and that main character is not aware of it, right? I feel like it's somewhat rarer to see two main characters who are mutually obsessed with each other, and it shows up in very, very similar ways, but obviously with their own little flair because we're all crazy in our own beautiful way, right? So I freaking loved that portrayal in Loving the Tormentor. But don't be fooled. With all of the beautiful, delicious darkness that I just described, people are tormented in this book, and please check your trigger warning so hard because there was a trigger in here that was one of my triggers, and I did read the trigger warning and I did choose to ignore it, so I'm not gonna poo-poo on the book for being the book that it was. I also don't think that I would be able to reread the book though because of it, and I don't personally forgive Achilles for a damn thing. And if you do actually, just tell me why. Please explain your thought track because like trust was so harshly broken. And like how do you feel safe with someone when it's broken to that degree? When somebody uses your past against you to incite fear as punishment? Like, you know? So if you do forgive Achilles, if Achilles did win you over, tell me how. Like genuinely, please tell me how. Was it just the masses of extenuating circumstances towards the end of the book when again information is drip fed in that beautiful Lola King fashion? She is the queen of hiding information and like switching your perception with a sentence. I'm honestly still so impressed by that one sentence at that one university event at the end of the book. If you know, you know. I'm hoping somebody knows because it's killing me to be vague right now when I'm so impressed by Lola King. But all that to say, if any of that was interesting to you, read Loving the Tormentor, read the Silver Falls University series because Lola King is worth the hype. And as a fussy bitch who is so particular, so detail orientated with her reading styles, like, trust my opinion on this one. Lola King is worth the hype. Okay, that's almost my December done. I dabbled back in the Magnolia Parks universe because for me, the Magnolia Parks universe is a reading slump kind of series where I pick it up when I don't want to read a single thing intentionally. It's kind of my version of trash reading because it follows like British aristocracy who I care nothing about whatsoever. That said, I have mentioned in previous videos, I'll put somewhere, that the second Magnolia and BJ book did get to me, did make me actually tear up, which is rare as fuck. So props to Jessa Hastings for getting that kind of response from me. And I didn't find BJ and Magnolia's relationship more interesting, but I like had empathy for their experiences, which again, I didn't expect to develop for a series I give no shits about, okay? However, out of the Magnolia Parks versus Daisy Hates like duology books that happen, I'm a Daisy Hates girl, or at least I was, okay? Or at least I was in the first book, which I had so much fun with. In the second book, turns out I wasn't as brain dead as I thought because I wasn't brain dead enough to keep reading the book after I got like halfway through, maybe even 2/3 of the way through, but I wasn't brain dead enough to keep reading. Which is not an indictment on the book because like I loved being back with Daisy Hates. I loved being back with the mafia lifestyle, but in the Daisy Hates way where she's like, I'm just trying to be an intelligent woman who is saving lives in this world that is determined to kill me and give me no opportunity, and also while I'm tempted by the thievery that my brother is continuously involved in. You know, being tempted by the dark side, but like wanting to live in the life-saving arena. Very commendable, very admirable. Also, just love that Daisy is such an intelligent woman. I'm actually noticing a theme in this whole reading wrap up is I just love having intelligent women represented. Thank you so much. But yeah, so I loved being back with Daisy. It was really interesting reading her thoughts and thinking and like the way that she clings to comfort in this world that is not giving her the best of choices ever. Okay. And I don't even know if I've told you what it's about yet. So let me just, I don't want to spoil things as the thing, but we pick back up with Daisy trying to live an independent life and being in a relationship with someone who represents more than I think is someone who's meeting her needs, but represents the life that she wants to keep on living while she's eventually through the book put in different life-threatening situations, and it's just a girl trying to survive and losing people close to her left and right and trying to hold on to a shred of the self and personhood that she's desperately clawed and tried to develop across the time. So I have so much respect for Daisy. Again, she's a woman with conviction, a woman with intelligence, a woman trying to make the best decisions she can and carve out a life for herself separate of the nonsense, quite frankly, that she's been thrust into since she was a child. And so, mad respect for Daisy. However, as I mentioned, this is a rest series for me. It's a series I read when I don't want to read anything, when I don't want to think critically, when I want my brain to be as turned up as possible. And it turns out I wasn't quite brain dead enough to be able to read about British aristocracy. So, I have put this down as a soft DNF. That's actually even too harsh of a phrase because I know I'm going to pick it back up the next time I'm like burnt out and needing to switch my brain off, right? But I just wasn't quite in that space. So that is the book I finished my December with. And we will soon be heading towards a January wrap up. I can't believe at the time of filming this, we're actually halfway through January, but this does mean I am officially caught up from all of the nonsense caused by illness last year, but I am healthy, I am well, I am rearing to go, and I'm so excited to be in this space and get more and more involved in different book events with different videos. I'm going to be bringing vlogs to you oh so soon, especially because it's nearly my birthday. And you know what that means? That means I get to reread the Insatiable series and bring you along for the ride. So watch out for that. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Let me know if any of these books surprised you, if any of these books are ones you want to get to or one you have gotten to and you want to like go gush about all the characters because I get you. I'm here with you actually. And let me know what you want to hear from me next because I have a few, well, many, like I mentioned, rearing to go, right? I am going to be bringing you a Haunting Adeline read through. I'm going to be bringing you an Insatiable series read through. I'm going to be bringing you a Rena Kent read through to figure out if I'm actually going to boycott her like hardcore or not. And I have so many opinions to share along the way. Oh, and I'd love to read more paranormal and polyamorous romances. So any suggestions for that, pop below. But I'd love if by the end of the year, actually, I could update my polyamory rec video because I haven't really expanded my polyamorous reading since that video, which is wild. I guess I have some very, very reliable books, but I'd love to expand. So that might be a little goal for the end of the year. Anyway, I have rambled for long enough. So happy reading, darlings, and I will catch you in the next video.